But anyway, I had a tricycle. It was just it had skirts on the front wheel. Just really.
It's really windy here, so I'm just doing a second hand. Yeah. Okay.
Did you add that question in there
What?
about
What?
the depression?
No, you just did.
Well, I'm not
That's
doing
what a
the
good
interview.
interviewer does.
I'm not doing the interview.
No, you're not even in the shot.
Good.
You can just sit down and talk to him. That's all I wanted. It's a conversation.
Come on, Nate, talk to me.
Okay.
So how old were you when your dad took off?
My dad didn't take off. He just was drinking all the time. It seemed like he would always be in the basement with his bottle of sherry, and he'd get a nip, and then he'd go upstairs and do different things.
Yeah, but your mom. How old were you when your mom remarried?
When I was 9, but this was before that. But we had everything you could imagine in that house because my dad had built a house, and it had stucco all over the outside of it. The whole side of it was just colored rocks that were embedded in the cement, and it was unusual type of house, but my dad built it because he wanted to have something special.
Yeah.
But he had 2 bedrooms downstairs and 2 bedrooms upstairs, and my brother and sister had a bedroom upstairs each for themselves, and I seemed like I slept with my dad occasionally because my mom would be out. I don't know where she was. I think she was.
But you know, when they lost everything, and they got divorced, and then his mom remarries, and his dad had no place.
But you were doing pretty good because your dad was pretty high up in Boeing.
Yeah.
You guys were buying and selling houses.
Yeah, no problem. But his dad had no place to live, so he lived in the house with his mom, who was divorced from him and remarried.
Yeah, and he and I slept in a second bedroom on a main floor. But he did a lot of work for my parents, for my stepdad and mom.
Yeah.
He rebuilt the kitchen, and that was basically. Oh, and then in the living room he tore out a lot of beams, dark beams that were on the ceiling. He tore those out and replastered it and modernized it, so to speak. And I think he even rebuilt the stairway in the front.
You can take your glasses off for videos.
So, when was the Prohibition?
Well, Prohibition must have started in the 20s, latter 20s.
And then when did it finish?
Probably, I would guess in the late 30s someplace.
And your dad was drinking during that time?
Yeah. Yeah.
How did he get it?
He drank, in fact, the reason he started
Does
drinking...
like Portland have those speakeasies where you'd like go into the basement of some place?
Yeah, we had a basement, and he'd always go down there and take a nip. But he was so depressed from having all these houses built, and he couldn't sell them, and so he was in debt because of all the loans he got for the houses to build. So he was very depressed, and I could understand his succumbing to it. He wasn't a Christian, so he didn't have anything to fall back on. And he just drank so much. In fact, I used to go down to the beer joint on Fremont Street, which was about 2 blocks north of us.
This is during the Prohibition?
Yeah.
Wow.
I used to walk down there and get some candy from him, or occasionally a pop, not very many times a pop, but...
Well, they used to keep you in the car all day outside the tavern, right?
Oh yeah. When my mom and my stepdad went down to visit Uncle Jack and Aunt Barbara, they'd go down and they'd meet them at the Ship Ahoy beer joint.
So could you like go to Portland and remember like these locations? Like-
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, I can
Wow.
tell you right where they are. But I couldn't tell you what the streets were, but I could tell you where they were. Because this one place was about 2 blocks from where Aunt Barbara and Uncle Jack lived. And they'd go in there and they'd sit at the bar drinking beer.
All
And
day,
I would sit out in the car.
During the Prohibition.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
all day long, and they
Well, not all day long.
4 or 5 hours
They-
they bring them a candy bar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was usually in the evening that we went over there. But then I would sit in a car, and we had no radio in the car. But I just sit in the car,
What do you do? Like
talk to myself.
You know?
But
How old were you?
once I was probably 6 or 7 or 8, maybe.
I can't imagine
Leaving
anybody
Izzy.
leaving. Yeah, their
No,
kid.
no, and occasionally,
I mean, it's
if
good
I
that they have those laws now, because
pardon me.
I said it's good that they have those laws now,
Oh yeah,
because that could
yeah.
like mess up, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I lived in a car while my parents were in the beer joints.
Yeah.
I just it seemed like that was the nature of my existence.
So how could they go to like beer joints during the Prohibition?
Well, they had beer joints all over every place, but
I
I don't know. I come to think of it,
Huh? Sure.
may have been after the Prohibition that they started drinking. I must have been about 6 or 7 or 8 in that area where they were going to beer joints.
Yeah. Do you want to look up when the Prohibition is?
It was the story of my life was either in Uncle Pete's neighborhood, which was out in Wygant Street out in North Portland. They would go out there and they'd go to the not the Chippehoy. It was another place right there where we could buy London Dairy ice cream for 19 cents a quart.
Man.
And that used to
Sounds
be what
good.
we'd do.
Like
And,
that big.
you know, I just now understood Chips Ahoy.
Oh.
Chip-
Why they called it Chips Ahoy, the cookie,
yeah.
because of Chips Ahoy. I don't know why I never thought of it.
Yeah.
It ended
So-
in 32.
I just never thought of it
Okay.
before.
They had their beer joints where they liked to go to. And they just sit there and talk and drink beer. That's all they do. And then then we'd have to drive home with them. I don't know how we ever got home safely, but we did.
What year were you born?
30.
I was born in 30.
30.
Year of the 1930.
That was right when the Depression was starting. It was in about the second year of it.
Oh.
And I didn't even know there was a depression.
Huh?
And I didn't even know there was a depression.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't. No.
Oh, that's
Okay,
amazing.
so this just kind of took me back. Since you were from Portland, do you remember Vanport?
Sure.
Wow.
That's where they had the flood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where they had the flood, and there's only like a few people left, like that are still alive. That
Remember Vanport?
yeah, like what do you remember about Vanport?
Well, I just remember that it was a low housing area. It was close to Columbia.
Because that was like the second biggest city in Oregon before it flooded, and all the people. It was like almost Atlantis.
They
pretty much.
they must have worked at a shipyard or something in Portland. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where they worked, but it seemed like it was low income too. I don't.
Yeah, a lot of black people.
I remember when it flooded, they were asking.
Flooded in 48, it looked like.
Yeah, 40. That was
So
when
you would
I.
have been 18, 17.
Yeah,
18.
17.
Yeah, because he graduated from high school in 49.
Yeah.
So I.
40% of them were African American.
Is that right?
So there was 40,000 people that lived in the
Vanport?
city. Yeah,
No kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
yeah. I didn't even know it was a place until I saw an article about it in the Daily News.
Yeah.
So yeah, very
Yeah.
cool.
Where was the location?
It's Blue Heron Golf Course. Is that what it's called, Blue Heron? Heron Lakes Golf Course.
Oh, okay.
So
The close to
it's pretty much
Columbia.
all wetlands now, and that's where the
Yeah.
Portland Raceway's at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that used to be a city, and it got flooded.
Yeah.
Huh.
What was it that you were talking about before that? I had something. Oh, I was going to tell you. One time I was out in my cousin and I walked out to our garage. We had a double car garage that my dad built at our house, and both doors were accordion doors. Well, I mean, you opened them this way. And there were two doors on one side, two doors on the other side. The two doors on the east side of the garage were closed. And we walked in on the west side, and I was fooling around in the back of the garage looking at a work table there, and I found an old rusty knife. It was about this long. That was a boning knife. And you cut the meat off the bones, with that. But it was so rusty. It must have been out there for a long time.
I
But
wouldn't want to use that on
my
meat.
cousin had gone to a film the night before, and he had seen a guy being chased by a felon, and he turned around and he threw a knife and it killed a guy. And so he was standing there on the closed side of the door. He was thinking. He said, let me try to throw that knife and stick it in the garage wall. So he walked over to the east side and he spun around and threw it and stuck right in the wall. He could have probably thrown 20 times and never stuck, but it stuck. And so he got it out and he walked back over there and he's going to throw it again. And I walked over to the door that was open over here, and I just stopped and turned around and watched him throw it. So he turned and he threw it, and it went right straight for me and stuck right in my sternum. And went like that, And I said, why did you have to kill me? And I grabbed it and pulled it out, ran in the house with blood spurting out of my chest.
Oh, man.
And I must have been about 7 or 8. Could have been 8. And ran in the house and told my mom she was fixing her face down at the toilet at the end of the hallway.
Wait, like
in the
putting on
sink
makeup and
in the bathroom. I meant to say.
yeah,
Yeah.
What she doing in the toilet?
Yeah.
She was getting all that beer out of her system.
Anyway, she had a fancy kind of a mirror there and drawers that pulled out so that she could have all access to what she wanted. But she was there, and I came running in, and I said, I got stuck with a knife, and she grabbed me, and she took me into the living room and laid me down on a Davenport, and she went back in and got a rag that wet and came in and put it on my chest, and she said, here, now you just lay here for a while. And
she
so,
goes back to putting her makeup on.
yeah, she went back
God.
and
How deep was it in you?
well, I don't. It hit my sternum.
Okay.
If it wouldn't have hit my sternum, it could have gone clean
So it was
through
just
me.
kind of like in your bone.
Yeah, it's the breastbone.
Okay.
It hit exactly there,
Yeah.
and if it would have gone between the ribs, I'd have been dead. In fact, an inch or two either way, it could have killed me.
Especially with having someone just say, "Here, hold a rag."
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all she did.
Yeah.
But anyway, she wasn't even concerned. She just put me down and laid me down and said, now you lay here now. And went back.
Doing that with your.
Put a Band-Aid on it. Here you go.
Yeah.
She went back in
Here's the
and
Band-Aids.
fixed her face. And well, we didn't even have Band-Aids then, I don't
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
But she did come back and attend to me once or twice, I think, afterwards. But my uncle came home, and I was afraid that he was going to kill his son. Because he, was throwing a knife and sticking it in somebody. And I pleaded for him. I said, don't spank him. He didn't mean to do it. And anyway, I guess he must have gotten a pretty good licking for it. Because Uncle Pete was really upset. But Uncle Pete was living with us with his two boys, Robert and Jack. They lived with us for probably a year or so.
You know, all these people
Everybody.
lived with everybody during the Depression because they didn't have money to
Yeah.
rent
Yeah,
anything, I guess.
Uncle Pete had gotten divorced from his wife, and so he came to live with us in our upstairs. And this is Frankie must have been out of the house then because he was staying in his bedroom upstairs.
Yeah, how many brothers? I mean, your mom was one of 7 or 12?
9.
9, okay. So,
It was right in the middle.
yeah.
7 or 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's so happy.
He made himself a little.
Yeah. Okay.
But he's going to fill that
What
now.
time- when did you
He's going to
start
fill it or else.
Oh, from the very beginning.
So. Okay.
You can just pick and choose.
Well,
I just-
I'll just start. Does anything else come to mind when you think about, say, like growing up in Portland?
Well, when I babysat my nephews when I was 9 years old.
So 1939.
39. I walked from our house over to my sister's house. She lived on Mason Street. It was about maybe 10 blocks away from our house. And I'd walk over there and I would go through a big field that was a vacant lot.
Now it's
That-
probably all
that-
housing.
Yeah, no housing there. It was just a field. I mean, with trees and different shrubs and on it. And I walked through this field and went through some other people's backyards, and then I went over into my sister's place, and I used to go there and babysit. I was 9 years old when I started babysitting for her when she and her husband went out and danced or whatever they did. And I think Ron, I even babysat him after Jim came along. I had 2 of them then. There was Ron and Jimmy that I
Do
babysat.
you remember your address?
5135, I think it was.
5135 Mason Street?
No, it was Siskiyou Street.
How do you spell that?
Sisk
Sisk.
YOU, I think.
Jim, you're gonna get all wet.
S-I-S-K, Sisk, U. Y-O-U.
Northeast Siskiyou?
55th Street. It was the address was 50.
5135 Northeast Siskiyou Street.
It was 55. I think it was
Was it
55.
northeast or
Zero.
southeast?
Maybe it was 5500. Could have been.
Well, what you say it was by like 52nd or something?
It was 55th.
55th?
55th Northeast in Siskiyou.
55th. Okay, so I have it here on my phone. Cool. I
You,
have to go see it sometime.
you can see the house there, can't you?
Probably. Once it loads. 55th Siskiyou. Let's see.
You must have built that up pretty close to 1930 when I was born. Because we were living in it when I was, the first remembrance, I must have been about 2 or 3 when we moved in there. Or I could have been earlier than that, I don't know. Yeah, because I was a baby in that house, that's right. They had pictures of me as a baby out in the yard. So I was born in that house.
And so, what kinds of things did you like to do as a kid? Like before high school?
We used to play hockey out on Siskiyou Street, where we would put on roller skates, and then we would have a hockey stick, and the goals were the manholes in the middle of the street in the corner, and we would skate down there, and every time I had to turn, I would fall on my knees to stand up again then because I couldn't turn. And so I would go down on my knees and fall, and then I would get up and I'd skate back again. But I was only, I think 9 was the last year I lived there. So I must have only been about 8 or 7 then.
What do you got, Jay?
But to think I could even skate at that age, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's see. Oh yeah, we used to play Annie Over. We used to
that?
take a ball and throw it over the house, and we'd say Annie, Annie over, and then if it didn't go over, we'd say pigtail, and they'd come back, and we'd take it and we'd throw it back over, and then they'd supposed to get the ball and run around and throw it at you when they came around.
Like dodgeball down there?
Yeah, well, it's kind of, but they try to hit you with the ball, and if they hit you, then you're out.
Oh, James, no thank you, Baba.
That was about the only game I could remember that we used to play.
So, wow, you kind of, wow. Yeah, I know right where the house is. That's close to where Mary Grace went to school, college.
What street did you go to college on?
Well, it's close to Ainsworth, but I don't remember the actual. It was Holman.
Is that
Holman Street?
Pardon?
Holman?
Got it.
Like
Holman?
Holman?
Holman, yeah. Holman Street was 2 blocks north of it.
Yeah.
Whatever it's.
No, Holgate. Holgate was. Holman was, I know of
Maybe a little
Holman.
farther.
I think Holman.
Yeah, well, there's Concordia right there.
Beverly Road.
Look at that. Karina. Mary Grace went to school here.
So
That's where you live.
vibrating at least my back. Weird.
Crazy.
Just a couple blocks away.
Well, yeah.
It
On
looks
here
it
it
from
looks
here.
like it.
Sorry.
There's a lot of Portland's really small. Or like the streets are really small.
What was 100 block?
100 block?
Mary Grace? What was 100 block that you lived on that your school was on?
It's like 36, right?
36 in Holman?
It's like, yeah, it's like
Was it?
36, 39, something like that.
Yeah, 39th was a main street.
Huh.
Went east, north, and south. Was it close to 39th?
I don't remember. Is it?
Yeah, I think that was one of the streets that you'd go on to your dorm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to catch a bus on 39th when I went over to Jack's and Robert's house. I used to take a bus when I was less than 9 years old, and I would catch a bus and go over there and transfer twice
Josh,
to go over to
you
their
guys
house.
are totally in the shot right now, by the way. Jeez.
I cannot believe that when I think of
Product placement.
a 9-year-old going on a bus by himself.
Especially in Portland. I mean, it's
Yeah,
different times. now.
yeah. Well, I mean, there was no crime then that I was aware of.
Yeah.
But I traveled. I used to go from our house on Siskiyou Street down to the Bond Street ballpark to watch baseball games. Portland Beavers played. One summer we went to 39 games, I think it was. 30 some games anyway. And we'd take a bus for a nickel downtown. And then we'd catch the 24th Avenue out to Bond Street. And then we got in free because we were the knothole gang. That meant the kids who were watching from the fence in. So they let youngsters.
So you look through the little
Well,
knothole?
I mean, that
That's what
was
they call you?
what they were calling us, as a knothole gang. But we got in free because we were less than 10 years old or
Yeah.
something.
So who are the Portland Beavers?
That was a pro baseball team.
Oh, wow.
They played
They used to play where the Timbers are.
Really?
Yeah, they still have. Well, do they still have a team?
Well,
Portland? No.
they played Sacramento, Los Angeles, Salem. Not Salem. San Francisco, Sacramento, San Diego, Seattle, and Portland were the teams in the league.
Nice.
Oh, and then it became minor league.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
it was.
they had like years of like there were some where they were AAA, some where they were independent, some where they were minor league.
Yeah, they were a Pacific Coast League is what they were.
Yes.
Remember? Yeah.
Yeah. Until 2010, Pacific Coast League. They won the minor league division title in 2004.
Nice. Okay, so what did you like to do in high school?
High school?
Yeah.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Franklin High School, and we were called the Quakers.
The Quakers?
Yeah, because we were named after Ben Franklin. And let's see, I went there from 44 to 49, 45 to 49.
You mostly played baseball, right?
Yeah, played baseball and basketball and ran cross country my senior year. Oh, my sophomore year, I turned out for football. No, my freshman year, and I took my shoulder pads home during the weekend, and I was playing sandlot football, and a guy tackled me, and I put my arm behind me, and we both fell on my arm. We broke my radial bone here.
Oh, man.
And it was just jagged, just like this, and I had to go get that repaired, and had a cast on my arm for about 6 weeks, I think. And then I had 2 weeks of a splint. And then we got through football season, and then basketball season started. So I thought I could start playing basketball. So we went down to the rec hall, and I was playing basketball, and one of the varsity players from Franklin slapped my arm and broke my arm again. And so I had to have the cast on it. Huh?
I said that's a rough year.
Oh, yeah. Well, sure, because I missed basketball and football, basketball, and I never started playing sports again until the next sophomore year in basketball. And I turned out for basketball, and it was after the season was already going. And I turned out for the team, and I made the team after the season had begun. And I got through that season. And then the next year I turned out for varsity, and I made varsity my junior and senior years, but never did start. Was only a substitute the whole time. But the basketball players that we had were guys that lived in my neighborhood, two of them. The center and one a sophomore who started as a sophomore for Franklin High School. He and I used to play out in my garage with a tennis ball, and we would have a coffee can nailed up to the garage, and we would dribble the tennis ball and then try to make baskets with that. But we'd stuff them most of the time because that's about all you can make it with.
Without a bouncing out.
But he came, when he got to high school, he was a starter. John Jarbo, he went down to Oregon State and played basketball at Oregon State too. He was good. Very good ball player. But I knew him since I was 6th or 7th grader in Marysville. In fact, one of my ball players from my 72 team came down to Portland and got a teaching job, and he taught at my grade school. I could not believe that when I heard that he was teaching at Marysville grade school.
Small world.
Yeah. And
So,
he was a Christian too.
So, like, were there any other things you liked to do in high school besides sports?
Well, yeah, I guess we went dancing. Every time we had a dance. Oh, the first dance I ever went to, a sophomore gal asked me to go to it. I was a junior. and I didn't know how to dance. And so we went to the dance, and we sat on a sideline the whole time watching the people dance. She used to be a sister of a gal that I had gone with before when I was in 8th grade.
So is
Well,
that
you used
like?
to go to the beach a lot. To
Huh?
Cannon, you used to go to Cannon Beach.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is that
Well,
like a happening place for young kids back then?
yeah, I started
Cannon
going
Beach?
down there when I was a junior in high school. Be 57, I guess, was when I first went down there.
47, you mean?
47, yeah, 47.
So that was about like the time when like there was like the greasers and they had like the leather jackets and motorcycles and.
Well, it was after.
Cool.
That
It
was after.
So
That was
you were like
after.
in college.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was after. We had all had cords, white cord. I mean, cream-colored cords. That was the end thing.
Yeah.
Then Levi's came in, and well, at first when you got the cords were not available during the war, so everybody had to wear salt and pepper cords. That was the only kind they had, black and kind of a light-colored speckled thing. They look like salt and pepper, and that was the only kind of cords
Just
you
because
could.
of the fabric that they used.
Yeah, it was just because they didn't have any other. They didn't have the normal fabric cord. But when the war was over, they started getting in the cream-colored cords again, and then everybody had cream-colored cords. And the thing was to wear a sports shirt. I mean, to wear a dress shirt with a rubber band on the bottom button over the button of your pants to hold the shirt in tight.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
That's the trick.
yeah, that was the deal.
I'm always wondering because I'm like.
Yeah, I know. Everybody had a rubber band in their
Yeah.
bottom button, and then over your pant button.
Have you seen the 5-Year Engagement? Have you seen that movie yet?
No.
There's a scene where Chris Pratt is like, "We're married," and he's at his wedding with a dress shirt, and he's like, "We're married," and his like shirt's lifting up. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, and then you had your cuffs rolled up one inside. That was true. And then you had your rubber band on your shirt, and then you had starched collars, cutaway shirts, and you were really cool when you had that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't always a cool kid. I used to wear the same shirt all week long to school. I wore the same shirt every day for a week. And then during one time I was wearing my sweatshirt, and to change my sweatshirt, I turned it inside out and wore the inside on the outside. And that's how I wore it the next week.
Oh man.
Oh, terrible.
What about shoes? What kind of shoes
Oh,
were there?
you always had brogues. You had wingtip brogues.
What does that mean?
Wingtips were kind of, they had, I've got a pair in my
Are they like
closet.
the ones that are brown? Like, they're still in. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Are they like brown?
Brown,
with the kind
brown, yeah. and then
Styles
they-
always come back.
of, right?
Yeah.
I better give me a pair.
Just go up and check his out.
Yeah.
And
right.
every guy had his shoes polished. Man, I'll tell you, that was it. You had to have polished shoes, wing.
This is the style now. No,
Yeah,
just kidding.
yeah.
Were you even in the shot? I don't know if you were in the shot. Wait,
No.
take him up again.
This is called used.
Let's see.
No variation.
Oh yeah, and then they wore Lord Jeff sweaters over it after a while. They
Lord
started
Jeff.
wearing it over your
What's the name,
cutaway shirts.
Lord Jeff.
Lord Jeff.
Lord Jeff.
Lord Jeff,
Lord Jeff
yeah.
of the Gelderland clan.
Yeah, and you couldn't get those sweaters always. Whenever they'd get them into Portland, every high school kid from all over Portland went downtown to get them.
Huh.
And in fact, when they first started getting the cords out, they would have a run on them where they'd have about 500 pair that they were selling, or 400 or whatever. They'd sell them and they'd be out in an hour or two. And then you'd go down there and they'd never be available. So that's when we had to wear salt and pepper ones, because they didn't have any of the other cream colored ones. But then when the war was over, they started getting the cream colored cords again. And
Who was they? What store?
Meyer and Frank's
Oh,
and Penny's and
Nice.
the major department
yeah,
stores.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sweaters.
It was Frederick and Nelson's dad.
Frederick and Nelson.
Frederick
Yeah,
and Nelson.
Well, we didn't have Frederick
So
and
they're
Nelson.
pretty much
Meyer and Frank's in Portland.
Oh, I
Karina.
didn't know that.
So dressing like Mr.
Frederick
Rogers
and Nelson was
was
Seattle.
the
Yeah.
style
Yeah.
back then.
He kept it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Um,
So then, are we past high school?
so like, what do you remember most of your teenage years? Like, anything else?
Well, when you were in high school, you were invited to be a member of clubs. In clubs
In the high school?
Yeah, in the high school, and to be in Quakers or Illuminati in
Illuminati?
Illuminati. That was one of the big clubs.
Yeah.
And we had High Y.
My grandpa was in the Illuminati.
That was a big club, boy. I'll tell you. In fact, I was.
Well, yeah, Illuminati is still.
There's a lot of conspiracy theories
Well, yeah,
out
it's,
now about Illuminati.
Yeah, it's like a like
Secret
top
society. Yeah.
secret group.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they control a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And the
Well,
government.
anyway,
Yeah.
in high school, you were either a Quaker or in the Illuminati. And the Illuminati, I got to be pledged, and I was in it for about maybe 3 or 4 weeks.
Facebook it.
And then I quit the club because I didn't like the idea of it.
So what
why-
was the idea?
What was the idea?
Well, I mean, it was a
To
social.
control the government.
No, it was a social club,
Yeah. So like
and
what?
the guys like to drink, and they like to.
They probably still do.
Yeah, they probably still do. They do. But anyway, I didn't associate with that, so I didn't. I quit the club. But then I became a member of High Y and Quaker, and I mean Optimus Club. And I actually was the secretary of that club. And the Royal Order of F was the Letterman's Club, and I was the vice president of
So,
it.
Sorry, going back to the Illuminati. So how were you pledged into the Illuminati?
Well, you had to do certain things. You know, a pledge is
Yeah.
very low person.
Yeah.
And they had certain things that you had to do to meet their standards. And I never got to the place where I found out all the things you did because I quit before then. Because I just, I
So
didn't-
like, what kinds of things did you do?
In the club?
No, to like get to where you were in the club.
Oh, they just had dances, and they had
Oh.
meetings once a month, and they had mostly dances and social club is what it was. And you know, if you were
Illuminati.
if you're one of the big members of the clubs, and you had special privileges as far as the student body was concerned, as far as you were concerned. And I didn't. I thought they were a little bit too social. Yeah, they were too social as far as I was concerned.
So the opposite of the Illuminati we know now, which is a secret society. They were
Exactly.
too social. If you had a message to the grandkids, what would it be?
To the
the group,
grandkids. Basically, I'd say to submit to Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior, mainly, because He is the author and finisher of our faith. And so I think Christ is the most important person in my life, and I would like to think that my grandkids would have the same desires.
As I was looking through a lot of these questions, I think that would be your answer to a lot of them.
Yeah.
Because I know that, because Jesus is your life.
Yeah,
I know
right, right.
I mean, everything revolves around living your life for Him.
Right.
So, how did you come to know Jesus?
I was introduced to Jesus by my aunt, who was a Christian, who read her scripture every day. She had her Bible marked so much, and she used to listen to Haven of Rest and Guiding Light and a couple programs like that would come on in the radios every day. And whenever I went out to the farm, I was always exposed to her lifestyle. And she was such a great aunt. She was so precious to me. She
lived to be 101.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She had more influence on people in the family, but so very few had become Christians. Only, I think, I know two of her daughters became Christians, but I don't know
So,
about
like,
the
what
rest.
year did she pass?
Could have been only about 3 years ago.
No.
4 years ago?
Oh, no.
Aunt Annie?
Aunt Annie, she died many years ago.
Not that many.
Yeah. She died probably 10 years ago.
Harley and Doris and we went down to her 100th birthday.
Yeah. Yeah, but then we haven't seen them for 10 years, so. But anyway, she was so precious, you know. I just knew there was something special about her that I wanted to emulate. And she used to take us to Bible studies out in the farm, at the farm next to us, which where the Turners lived. And we'd go over there, and everybody would sit on the benches, and they would sing songs, and then they'd have a word from the scripture, but we were so young we didn't understand it anyway. But they used to pray, and I didn't even know Jesus then, and I would sit down and I would mumble, and I mumbled like I was praying, you know, because other people prayed and I couldn't understand what they were saying, so I just did the same thing, and that only lasted a year or two. I think that we had the prayer meetings, but she used to take me to church when they had Bible lectures, like down in Philomath, Oregon. She would drive down there, and
where was their farm at?
was near Dallas, Oregon.
PV, Oregon, it's outside of Salem.
Outside of Salem.
I just drove through Philomath.
Philomath?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Corvallis, yeah.
I was just there yesterday.
No
Because I was
kidding.
going to Toledo, Oregon,
Oh,
to
yeah.
a mill, and then I drove back through.
Well, they were actually from PD, Oregon. PD, Oregon has one
So you know those Saramas that we have back there?
The what?
with the
The
weeds up
Saramas,
about
the
this
little
high.
chickens?
That says,
Oh,
"If
yeah?
you need help,
Those are originally from Philomath, Oregon.
Philomath?
Yeah.
Yeah, he still has
You
two
know-
cousins down there.
Toledo, we played Toledo in high school basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're-
pre-season game, we went down
Wow.
there and played Newport and Toledo the same night, or
Nice.
same weekend.
See, he lived on the farm with her every summer
Yeah.
because his parents were.
Yeah, and
He went up there and lived.
I got to pick cherries during the summer and made money that way. In fact, that's what I made all of my money for my clothing that I had for junior and senior year, was working the cherries.
So Dallas, Oregon.
Yeah,
would be, yeah.
that was the largest city
The
close to
largest
them.
city, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which is about 2 blocks long.
It was about 10, 15 miles from the farm.
Yeah.
I missed, did we already say how big the farm was?
It was 80 acres.
Oh.
That was 350 or something.
No, 80 acres.
80 acres? Oh.
What did they do? Did they...
Logging?
Well, my uncle worked in a sawmill, and that's where I worked during my junior year as summer vacation. I worked in, oh, no, it wasn't either. It was when yeah. It was my sophomore or my junior year. No, my sophomore year I worked in it, yeah.
But they also did some logging off of their property.
Oh yeah, they had lots of logging out there, and
Yeah.
but I worked in the sawmill in Petey, Oregon. That's where they had this, where my uncle worked for 20 years or so. He was the main edger who had to regulate some levers back and forth to cut the boards in the width. And then they'd put a cant through, which was a big board, maybe it could have been 4 inches thick or 2 inches thick or whatever. But they would put that through, and then it would cut it into widths, the boards into widths. He had a very important job. Yeah, when I used to go out in the summers there, we'd cut our winter wood. He and I would be on the saws, one at each end, cutting the logs up to where we'd cut 10 cord of wood.
So you cutting them in the rounds
Yeah, and
for firewood?
for firewood. Yeah,
and
because that was what they heated their
Yeah.
house with.
That's what we heat our house with too.
Yeah,
We don't use electricity because it just costs way too much.
sure.
Yeah. So
They like to live off the grid.
we would like to live off the grid,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we probably use about 8 kilowatt hours per day. So
Oh, yeah?
we don't use that much.
You just
It's just pretty much like
to heat your
refrigerator
water,
and water heater.
Heat your water,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's all you need, really. I mean,
yeah. Well, if you're not going to be home, that's okay.
yeah,
In fact, that's better.
yeah. I mean, I learned that my first month living, when I moved out, I just set my thing to, I want the house, I want the apartment to be,
70 degrees.
70 degrees. I get my first bill and it was like $120 something. I was like, never again. So I got it down to like the 30s now. So
That's amazing.
yeah. So like I even went to the PUD and she's like, this is amazing. We've never seen anyone cut down to like you use like nothing. Like
You got that right, lady.
yeah. I'm like, I literally went to my circuit breaker and I turned everything off except for the water heater and the refrigerator. So that was
Mary
when
Grace is like, yeah.
that's when I was at the apartment. We were walking around
Oh.
with candles. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna jump ahead a little bit. How did you guys meet?
At Linfield College, we both went there. I was a freshman, he was a junior.
Yeah.
Okay, there is a tradition at Linfield that you cannot go by anybody without saying hello. You
Nice.
have to stop and say hello, period. That's it.
I mean, you always have to say hi to a person.
Yeah, hi to them. You can just walk by. So I was out in the grass with a book, studying for a biology test.
This is afterwards, Barbara.
And you ended up. Did you study biology?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he was. Okay, and so this guy walks by and says, hi. And I said, hi. And he says, what are you doing? And I said, well, I have to learn the name of every tree on this campus. And the scientific name and the regular name of it. And I don't even know the name of a tree. I mean, like whether it's a pine tree or a
Yeah.
fir or a spruce. And he says, oh, do you want me to help you with that? He said, I know that. And I said, well, how do you know that? And he said, because I was raised out on a farm with all these trees. And so I just know them. And so I said, yeah, I need help. So the rest of the whole day, he helped me. And then everybody ate at the same time. The bell rang and he went in to eat. And all the freshmen ate at one table. I mean, they didn't have to, but they did, and its fraternity ate at another table. And so after dinner, he said, well, I'll still keep helping you. And so
I'm just having trouble hearing her.
so I said, okay. And then then at the end of the day, he says, this was a Saturday, he says, did you go to church? And I said, yes. And he says, well, can I come over to the dorm and pick you up? And we can, he says, I don't have a car, but we can walk to church. I said, okay. So we walked to church, and then we came back, and then you had the big Sunday dinner. After Sunday dinner, he said, you need more help with your biology? I said, yeah. And so he helped me the rest of the day, and I guess I just took off from there. From then on, we just saw each other.
Was it all innocent, or were you?
Oh, the first
time we met,
oh yeah, which we did. I didn't even remember.
a fraternity brother of
I
mine.
had two of these. Sorry.
A fraternity brother of mine had a car, and he was going to go to the Lewis and Clark football game in Portland, and he was taking Barbara and two other song leaders. She was a song leader at the football games and the basketball.
So is that like a cheerleader?
Yeah,
You just start the
cheerleader.
chants?
Yeah. And anyway, she was one of the girls, and there was two other girls, and I was with my fraternity brother, Bruce Patton, going to Portland. We went there, and we took him there, and then we took him back, and I knew that she was there because I knew who she was, but later on, I asked her when we bumped into each other around the school area. I asked her. I said, "Do you remember when we took you to the Lewis and Clark football game?" She says, "No." I said, "Well,
I remember who was in the car."
Yeah, I said, "Do you remember who was in the car?" And she said, "No, I don't remember." And that showed you what kind of impression I made on her the first time we ever met. She didn't even know who I was.
Oh, it's Jesus.
Oh.
Who's saying Jesus?
James was just saying, it's Jesus.
Oh.
But
Then actually, I was going with a guy in Seattle, and he was going with a girl in Portland at the time.
oh yeah, this you got to hear
This
too.
is the kick, because I was going with this guy in Seattle, and he was going with a gal in Portland.
No, Dal from Linfield.
No, you were going with Joni Hobart.
No, but then I was going with Stevenson.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, and so my roommate, well, his best friend wanted to go out with my roommate up in Seattle, and she was from Vashon Island. So his friend says to me, if we drive up to Seattle Christmas vacation, can she stay at your house, for 3 or 4 days, and the four of us could go out together? And I said, well, okay, but you got to get out of there because I'm already going with the guy and we got to get rid of him. So anyway, they came up for, 3 or 4 days, and
Stayed at the Theta Chi house in Seattle.
Theta Chi house, and our house, my parents always bought houses every couple of years, and then my dad would fix up the basement into a big recreation room, and we had ping pong table and all this stuff. So, we did that for a while, and I don't know where we went, but anyway. And then they went back to Linfield, and then I was home, and my roommate went to Vashon Island. So then Christmas vacation is over with, and my roommate and I, we took a bus back to Linfield, and when we got off the bus, the two guys were waiting for us, Rich and Ted, okay? Were waiting for us to drive us back to the dorm. So they drove us back to the dorm, and so then we still, I guess we still kind of saw each other at the library all the time. And anyway, then it came to, I guess we were together all the time at the library.
Oh, sure.
I know he was playing in water.
And so then,
Hi, it's Papa. Hi. He's having coffee. He has coffee.
Aren't you cold? Aren't you cold?
freezing.
Hey boy, how are ya? How are you doing? How are you doing,
say
sweetie?
hi,
You want to
Papa?
go back to your dad?
You say hi, Papa.
Grandma?
Grandma?
Okay,
Bye.
so
So anyway, okay, so now we were together all the time in the library and just wandering around campus and going to church together and stuff. And so then there's February, and they're going to have this huge big dance on the campus. Okay, and Rich says to me, he invited me to go, and then he said, well, I'm kind of in charge of the decorations. Do you want to come over to the Grange or whatever it was and help decorate during the day? So I went over there and we helped decorate during the day. Well, anyway, this dance, they pick a king and a queen of the dance, okay, at halftime, which now would seem dumb, but anyway, it was a big deal then. And when you went into every couple, a lot of the couples announced their engagement at this dance, a lot of the senior
Wow.
kids. And so when you went in, they just gave you a piece of paper, and you wrote down who you thought would be the couple that would still be together 25 years from them. And nobody was running. You just put it in this box.
And they would become the king and queen?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so, so anyway, this dance goes on, and a couple of kids had announced their engagement. And so then it comes halftime. I mean, the middle of the dance. All the lights go off in this Grange or whatever it was. And this big spotlight goes around and around and around, and we're sitting there with our friends, and everybody's guessing who's going to be the king and the queen of this thing, who's going to be together 25 years from then. And they're guessing all senior couples, of course. And it goes around and around and around, and bam, it lands on us. And we
So
just,
were you guys still together?
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
we just looked at each other and we said, there's no way. I mean, we didn't even think we were going together. But anyway,
That's funny.
Like we already
'Cause
did
you guys weren't
actually
even
dating.
You guys weren't like legit yet, and they're like they're gonna be together forever.
yeah, I know.
Everyone saw it except for
I
you
know
guys.
it. So
maybe
they
maybe
drag
Rich
us
saw
up
it.
there
You
and-
didn't see it.
Here's the
We-
king and queen of this big dance. And,
Yeah.
and
we're-
everything, and you have the first dance after intermission and everything like that. We could not believe it. And
Did you learn to dance?
yeah. Yeah, I knew how to dance then.
All right.
Yeah.
so I think that next day, up in the student lounge or something, I think so.
What?
You asked me to go steady, then maybe
Oh,
the
yeah.
next day.
Nice.
And so, you first of
After
all,
you guys were king and queen.
yeah.
Yeah.
So in those days, you went steady and then you're engaged and then you're married. Okay, not that way anymore, but
It's the other way
anyway.
around.
So I knew he didn't have.
Baby, maybe
Yeah.
try going steady, break it off, go steady, break it off, maybe get married, break that off, go find someone else, have a baby.
So usually, and you always wore, the fraternity pin or whatever, announcing your engagement. And I knew he didn't. He was putting himself through college, so I knew he didn't have the money for anything like that. So I can't remember what you gave me. It was some kind of a pin. I said, "What's this?" And he says, "Oh, I'm junior class president at the college." I said, "What?" I didn't even know that. I said, "You are junior class president at this college?" Yeah. So anyway, so then I've got this, and so we're back at the dorm, and everybody's saying, "You are going with, study with Rich Alslavy? He's junior class president. He's on the varsity basketball team." I said, "He is?"
yeah.
I thought he was just some farm boy that knew some trees. And,
So anyway, so kind of went on from there, and okay, so then we get to the last May, right before school is out. He's still a junior. I'm a freshman. I'm 17 years old, and because I started when I was 16. Anyway, so we're sitting in the
16.
yeah.
College.
wow.
Yeah. So we're sitting in the typing room, and we're the only two kids in the typing room. And of course, there's no computers in those days or anything. And so I'm here, and he's in back of me, and he keeps handing me the papers to type for a theme or whatever
paper
you call
I
it,
was writing.
term paper, yeah, that he had to do. And so he's sitting in back of me, and pretty soon he says, "Oh, I've got an idea." So I turned around, and I thought it was for another piece of paper, for me to type. And I said, "What?" He says, "If I could get a job on a fishing boat in Alaska this summer, we could get married." And I said, "Is that a proposal?" and I couldn't believe it.
Well, actually, her parents were the ones that suggested it in the first place, and then we.
Not that we got married, but then
No,
we got
but
a job in Alaska.
no, not married, but getting a job in Alaska, and
Because
they,
was that like a popular thing for people to just go up to Alaska and
if you could get a job.
yeah?
But anybody would want to do it, but you could never get a job.
Because it paid good money, didn't it?
Oh,
Sure.
Yeah.
Still does.
Yeah.
I mean, it still
yeah,
does,
there's
but-
still.
Still does. One summer, and he paid off his junior year and his whole senior year, and
Yeah.
everything.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
Go to
fantastic
Alaska.
because I was $300 in debt at the end of my junior year, and I went up
That's
there.
probably
And,
about how much the whole year cost back
yeah. Well, it cost $800.
800.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of money then.
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, like everything else was. I mean, the fact that you guys per hour were probably getting paid like cents.
I was getting 25 cents.
Yeah.
Working
Oh.
on,
And that was probably really good.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think you made a little bit more working on the campus in maintenance.
I got 75 cents an hour.
Probably in Alaska, you got like close to $1 an hour.
Yeah, in Alaska, I don't know. I got $1.65 an hour.
dang.
No, wait, got $1.65
Well, then
at
the dope.
the lumber mill. I don't know what I got paid up in
$1.65 is pretty
Alaska.
good.
All I know is they gave me a lot of money at the end to where I could pay for my junior year off and then plus my senior year.
Senior year, yeah.
That was amazing.
$1,000 maybe?
Talk about the Lord's supply.
Yeah.
The Lord has been so faithful.
And so then you came back about the end of August or first part of September. School started, in the middle of September or something like that.
Must be nice.
And
Right.
so then we figured, I was still 17, okay? So we're figuring that we're going to get married in December of my sophomore year, his senior year. But of course I wasn't 18 yet. So then
In September, you were 18.
the end of September I was 18. And so we were going to get married Christmas vacation, so I would have had my 18th birthday, which we did. We got married, and we lived in the World War II housing on the campus because they didn't have the married housing that they've got now. You had to live in, in this
They're barracks,
the
like.
kind of barracks that the kids lived in during the Second World War. $22.50 a month.
$22.50 a month we had to pay, and we had to scrape for that.
Yeah. And so went to the dime store and got. You could
Instead of
get,
the dollar store.
Yeah.
And you could get paper drapes for a couple bucks. And so we put up paper drapes in the apartment. And somehow your mom went
Oh,
to
yeah.
some kind of an auction and got a couch for $5 or something.
$10.
$10, okay. And it wasn't too bad. I mean, it had 2 bedrooms, a living room, and a little kitchen. And of course, they weren't furnished the kitchens, so we didn't have anything to cook on. So his fraternity lent us a refrigerator.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
nice though.
Yeah, and we had no stove, of course. But somebody gave us a popcorn popper. They're not
Well,
fancy like they are now.
At
but
our wedding.
yeah, for a wedding present. It had one burner, and you put the thing on the top with the popcorn in it, and it just got hotter and hotter and hotter until
Yeah,
the
just
popcorn
overflow.
popped. Okay, yeah. So that's what we use, that thing.
Was it a hot plate or
Could-
a
Yeah, hot
popcorn
plate.
popper?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, Betty had no control of
Of how hot?
yeah,
It
how
got-
hot.
No.
It just got hotter and hotter and hotter. So we fixed coffee on that till it boiled.
Nice.
And then we took that off, and then I think we had
Soup
no
for
macaroni, no spaghetti. Franco
yeah,
American
spaghetti.
every
Franco
night.
American spaghetti.
Till it got hotter and hotter and hotter.
But that was basically what we ate every night.
But what was really neat is that I was secretary to the head of the home economics department, and so she bought and arranged every meal on the campus, for the whole campus. And so she was really nice to us because I worked right after lunch because I
Nice.
didn't have any afternoon classes, and so she would give me the food, a lot of the food that was lunch, and it was hot. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was hot food and salads and everything, so I could bring that and we could eat that. So it was pretty good. My parents would have paid it all, but we were just stubborn enough we wanted to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And
Mrs. Fisher.
Mrs. Fisher, yeah. So the best part of college, okay, so now we've been married 3 months. 3 months.
Oh yeah, yeah.
3 months. And I know Linfield has drinking and drugs and everything like every other college now. But a guy could not step inside the door of a women's dorm, period, or you're out. There's no second chance.
They
If
should
you were-
do that now
Yeah,
at all the colleges.
All the colleges, anything
They
goes.
just need like a no tolerance policy.
yeah.
And if you were ever caught drinking, there was no second chance. You were through. And so here, Rich and I are in our classes, and
We both were called out
we both
separately.
were called out of our class to the president of the college's office.
We were thinking we were in the hot water. We didn't know what we did.
I mean, we both arrived in his office, at the reception thing at the same time, and we're just looking at it, so, oh man, what have we done? And panicked because he's, 3 months from graduating from college, and said, oh, if we're thrown out, this is not going to be good at all.
Back then, did credits transfer? Like your schooling transferred to another college?
Yeah, it
Probably
could.
would
Okay.
have,
Sure.
yeah. But anyway, he's so close to graduating, and so we're called into his office, and so he calls us into his office, and he said, "I've just been elected president of the American Baptist Convention, and we
For
have
the United States.
for the whole United States, and
Wow.
we're going to have to be traveling for 1 month or 2 months?" Anyway, and he said, "We have 3 kids. Kathy is in the 3rd grade, Les is in the 6th grade, and John is a junior in high school. And we want you to come and live in the president's house and take care of our 3 kids. You're to keep the house. We don't have locks on the doors. You're to keep the house.
They didn't have locks on the doors.
Not of the president's house, no.
Wow,
And
why?
it's huge. I don't know." And he says it's supposed to be spotless all the time. If any women, like the faculty wants anything there, or the women's thing wants a tea, yes, everything goes, and you're to have it perfect so that they can come in and do it. And the 2 kids that are in grade school, they come home for lunch every single day, and they only eat bologna sandwiches and chicken noodle soup, so you're to have that. And what was the other thing? Oh, they can go to any birthday party of their little friends, and just take what you call a dollar store, the dime store, and they can pick out what they want. And you're to be like their parents at the school. Anything that goes on at the school where the parents are supposed to
Like
attend.
PTA
And
things.
we are to live in the president's
in
house.
the president's house,
Yeah.
naturally, because their kids are there. And so you're to go attend everything, and there'll be a lot of stuff at the end of the school year. And there, for the Les was in 6th grade, and so there was like, little.
You didn't hear this, Karina.
Oh, I got it on video though.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a little.
I'll
what
watch
would
it
you call
later.
it? Not a carnival, like a athletic little thing for the 6th graders. And so, he went as his dad would have gone, and
Well, I went to ball games that he
yeah, we
played.
went to everything that the kids did. And we just absolutely had a ball with those kids.
But
Kathy was in 3rd grade, and we said if we ever had a girl, she'd be named Kathy, which
Nice.
we did and did.
Nice.
And
I think I know her.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, and we were to keep, obviously have the kids' clothes all washed, and they had made arrangements for someone to iron the clothes. But
You had to watch them.
yeah, but I didn't. I mean, I ironed them for the little kids, okay? So, and if we ever went out, the two of us, we were to get the Dean of Women to come over and babysit the kids. Not
Or
somebody.
some faculty member.
No, it had to be the Dean of Women. It couldn't be anybody that we knew. Period. Okay, so now let's go fast forward to almost the end of school, and it's a huge big dance down on the ocean. And
Cannon Beach.
No, which
No,
ocean
no.
was it?
It was D Lake,
Yeah,
D Lake.
D Lake.
like by
Newport.
Newport. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the college arranged 2 motels. One that it was formal, that the gals could change their clothes in, and one that the guys could change their clothes in.
The college didn't do that. We did
Oh,
it. The fraternity did it.
Okay. Anyway, it's quite a drive down to the ocean from there. So I went to the Dean of Women, and I told her, I said, we'd like to go to this dance, and can you come over and take care of the kids? She says, closing hours on this campus are at 12 o'clock. And I said, we are married. She said, that don't make any difference. Closing hours on this campus are at 12 o'clock. I said, thank you, goodbye. And so then, okay, John. John was a junior in high school, okay. And we were the same age. So obviously we're not.
She is 1 year older than he.
Yeah, I'm not taking care of him. So John has me pinned up against the wall in the house, and he says, you are not going to tell my parents that I was never home at night. And he never came once for dinner or anything.
So, did you ever know what he did?
No. Now we know he was out golfing every day. And he became the golf course coach at Linfield Oak.
Interesting. He's just out golfing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. And where he got the money to eat, I don't know. But anyway, so he says, don't you dare tell him. And I said, okay, I'll make you a deal. You can stay home one night, and you can take care of your brother and sister, so we can go down to the ocean to the dance. And I said, you will not tell your brother and sister that we have gone.
Your mother and father.
Yeah, your brother, your mom and dad. No, you're not going to tell your brother and sister where we've gone. When we leave, as far as they know, we've just gone out to dinner, and when they wake up in the morning, we will be back. And I said, and you will take care of them. And I said, and I have not seen one thing in the wash of yours in 2 months. And I never opened the door to his room.
That's so weird. It's like he never was really there.
No.
He's washing his clothes somewhere else.
He was involved in high school so much.
So I said, and just, so he threw virtually everything he owned down to clothes shirts, which they had in houses in those days. And so he did that. And I said, because it's got to be straightened out when your parents come home, and they were going to be home in a couple weeks. And or a week maybe, right? So he did. I just stayed home, took care of the kids, and threw all his clothes in, and that's the only time I had to call for help for the ironing, because everything he owns, all of his, was in the wash, and so worked out great. And when they came home, everything was perfect, and they said, of course, they had made arrangements at a grocery store that we could buy any food that we wanted, but they had so much food there anyway.
In fact, she was so good at
You
saving.
could buy all the bologna and chicken
Yeah.
noodle soup that you wanted.
Right. But she was so good at managing the money. She saved $35 from the 200 or whatever they gave us to feed them, and at the end we gave it back to them, and they said, "No, you can have it."
You can have it.
And that was like $1 million to us.
Yeah, and he said, and you don't need to pay the
Well, it's
rent.
over a month's rent right there.
Sure.
Yeah, and they said you don't need to pay the rent on your apartment. He said, we'll take care of that. The
Wow.
fellas will take care of that. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
it
the
was-
month that we were living over there.
Yeah, so that was quite an experience I mean, I was finally 18 years old.
I cannot believe both of us we reached the president's office at the same time, and we said, "What are you doing here?" Well, we got called into the office, and I did too. And so we didn't know what we were going to get. We thought possibly we had done something wrong as far as some
One of the rules.
regulation
or
or
codes,
something. And then he asked us to babysit
To live there,
his
yeah.
kids, and I figured, here we've been married 3 months only.
Yeah.
But I guess I was the co-chairman of the Christian Student Union.
Which is the same
of
as
the-
student
of
body
the-
president, yeah.
Yeah, of the school.
Yeah.
And I had been the junior class president, so I figured that he must have had some faith in that I would not screw up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was quite an episode. Yeah.
And then, of course, he got a college deferment from the draft. So we knew that as soon as he graduated, he'd be drafted.
Oh.
And so we moved to Seattle.
Wait, so like your plans for after you graduated, you're like, I want to be a teacher, but then you got the letter.
We knew you'd have to serve in the service because you had to, yeah. And so we moved to Seattle and got an apartment in the University District,
And I got a job at Boeing.
yeah, just temporarily because it would be ridiculous to get a teaching job because he knew
Yeah.
it was, yeah. And then
Can't stay the whole school year.
Yeah. And
I worked there until October, and then I got my letter of induction.
yeah, and then of course shipped straight to Korea.
And just that July was when the truce was signed in Korea.
Okay.
So it was June, July, August, September, October, 3 months after that. And everything was up in arms. We didn't know what was going to happen.